All right, hey everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Twitch Creative Spotlight. I am Joe, otherwise known as GamerDad, joined by this guy.
Me?
Uh,
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong screen. He's over there to me. But anyway, I am ImpendingDuff, otherwise known as Neil or Duff, as my friends call me. And today we are joined by our good buddy Justin, aka GoPaint. How the hell are you, buddy?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good.
Doing good.
Welcome to the
Good.
show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So tonight's topic, for those of you who do know Justin, or most of you know him as GoPaint, you are well aware that within our community, he's like a 3D printing guru. So pretty popular in the community with his various printed holders and everything like that. So tonight we're going to be talking about 3D printing and the I guess the technology of 3D printing, as well as how it works with streaming different things. So we want to combine the technology and the streaming. So before we do
Makes
that,
sense.
we like to let everybody get to know who you are before we talk about the topic at hand. So we've got a few questions we'd like to lead in with. Who are well? We know kind of who you are as a streamer. You're a painter and 3D printer. But tell us a little bit more about your channel and what kind of got you started with Twitch.
Sure. It was probably give it maybe a year, not quite a year ago, almost. It was end of July last year, and a little bit before that, as context, I guess, I wasn't in the hobby until really about the end of March last year, 2018. And when I say the hobby, I mean miniature painting, building, and all that stuff. And even 3D printing, really. I had done 3D work in the past, but not really 3D printing until the summer following. So what kind of got me into that part of the hobby was really talking to my brother about miniature painting and stuff. He's been into it for a long time. And so moving from that, getting into miniature painting took me into the Warhammer world. I don't know if you guys know what Warhammer is. I know you two both do.
I have no idea. Could you tell us more about that?
For you guys on the line, it's a tabletop game. You play with small plastic figurines. You paint them. You put colors on them. You put your dudes on a table against somebody else's dudes. It's basically a really long and drawn out version of chess, depending on who you play against.
It's a good way to put it.
Right. So there's rules. Your dudes against somebody else's dudes. You follow the rules and you try to beat them. So at the time I was just getting into this hobby, I had no idea what the heck I was doing, like anybody else. If you start getting into Warhammer 40,000, there's like tomes upon tomes of like knowledge, right? There's
paychecks upon paychecks of money that you have to drop.
And
I've heard the joke, they don't call it 40K because it's the name, it's what it costs, right? So
accurate.
So I was trying to get into figuring out, okay, well, I like certain guys, the way they look. I had no idea how they played. So what brought me into Twitch was really Warhammer TV, actually. Watching battle reports, looking at the way people played certain armies, trying to figure out if I liked the way that an army played and the way they looked on a table. Just kind of went from that into like, whoa, there's what else is going on in Twitch? Just really looking around and just trying to see, what is it that people do on Twitch? And I've heard Twitch in the past. I knew what Twitch was. I just never really spent a lot of time on it. But there were people playing tabletop games on Twitch, which I thought was cool. It's like, okay, I can learn rules for games. I can talk to people who might be interested in the same hobby. That's awesome. And then I went into the channels like anybody else would and started browsing around. Found miniature painters. It's like, this is awesome. It's usually a very solitary hobby, right? It's very something you do pretty much alone. You turn on a light on your desk, you go into your basement or your office or wherever your kitchen, wherever you got room, a table on
There's
the couch.
A lot of jokes about your mother's basement coming out of this conversation.
Oh yeah,
to each their own.
that's where we all started as teenagers: basements or kitchen tables, or both. In my case,
I'm not judging. But anyway, yeah. So that got me into Twitch. Was basically watching Warhammer TV, watching people play, finding creative streamers, watching people paint. And then I was like, well, I'm already painting and doing stuff myself. it's kind of cool that people have the ability to do that and chat with their friends while they also work on what they're working on. So long story short, I guess that got me into Twitch and got my idea for kicking off a painting stream and a technology stream and a variety stream really started last summer, end of July. So
it's and the way you do it, I really like the ease and the flow. Sometimes people do variety streams and it's not, you'll find that certain viewers are there for one thing, certain viewers are there for another thing, and they do like 5-6 different things, and you're like, well, what am I getting tonight? And they don't hold to a schedule. I like that when I come to your channel, it doesn't matter if you're doing 3D printing or painting, it's the same chill dude with a good conversation going, and you explain things, and that's something I think is crucial and learned over a long time for a lot of streamers. And you took the torch right off the bat. You were explaining everything about your 3D printing, and even when you're painting, you're talking exactly about what you're doing, and that's what really appealed to me as far as your stream goes. And now hearing your story coming into Twitch itself, it's very similar to mine. I think a lot of us can relate to that story. It's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the feedback too. It's always good to hear what people think about, the channel and what goes on. So
yeah, I mean, coming from somebody like me who likes to label himself as a tutorial based streamer, I can kind of echo what Duff's saying. Like, there is a lot of interaction, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of education coming out of your stream, and to be able to put together content where you can do things while you're teaching them that stuff, like, and make it look seamless and easy and casual, that's a very difficult skill to harness, and you've done very well at it.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And that's kind of coming from watching you guys, or watching other folks who stream, right? So checking out Mentor Monday, checking out people like Rainer, other streamers who do educational content, at will. Analyzing streamers who I think are just really good at what they do and trying to emulate some of that stuff and flat out copying things if I can do it well enough, right?
Yeah.
Not to take someone's streaming content and make it my own, but to say I like how they interact with chat, or I like how they present their content on the screen, or I'll try to be experimental with the layout. I've gone through some transitions with the overlays, things like that. But as far as streaming goes, just trying to make it better. Always trying to help people get the most out of it as possible. When I first started out, I had like this kind of retro marble background wrapped around my camera, and it kind of looked really cheesy. It was just a way to start. I didn't really have. Now what you get is basically this box. It's just my desk and then my face somewhere else on the screen, and we just kind of paint and talk about what's going on.
And you touched on something that personally I think it is a good topic. It's slightly off topic, so I won't dwell on it very long, but you said that you watched people and you emulated what they did. I've seen a few circumstances, especially lately, of people taking offense to other people emulating things that they're doing on their streams. Frankly, I see that as a flattery. I mean, if somebody's going to emulate anything I do, that means I did something right and they admire it and they want to apply it to their stream. And I do it myself. I mean, I've talked to streamers behind the scene. How do you do this? Do you mind if I take it on myself? And I've seen other people do things where they had no clue that somebody was doing it, but now they're both doing it. And some people take offense to that. I don't understand why, because we're all here to help each other, basically. I mean, that's the whole idea behind a Twitch stream, is, at least in our world, not necessarily video games, but in our world, in the creative world, most of the time people are there to show you what they're doing so that you can learn from them. So
yep, exactly. I've always kind of been a learn by doing guy. Like, I learn by doing and I learn by helping others. Same thing.
Very much the same way.
Streaming is just a way to help me do that. So
so that was it was a good I could talk about that for hours, but why don't you tell us kind of how you got your name, how that came up?
GoPaint. It's interesting. So when I first started the hobby, I have a wife, I have kids, things are going on in the house. And for the first few months in the hobby, it would kind of seem like I'm sneaking off to do something, like, oh, what's happening, right? Turn around, tell the wife, what are you doing? I'm going to go paint. I'm going to go paint. I'm going to go paint. So getting into the hobby and like just trying to crank through as much tutorial content as I could online. Just kind of got used to saying Go Paint. And then when I got to Twitch and decided, well, if I'm going to create a painting channel, what would I call it? Well, let's just call it Go Paint. It's an activity. It's something I'm doing. There really wasn't any science behind it. It was just kind of seems like a common catchphrase around the house that we use. And for whatever reason, it was actually available. So just
The fact that it was available is baffling. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's not unique, not original, not but it is it's on the nose. It's very accurate. And you know, like some of the shorter name lengths like that, you do not expect to have available at all.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And even on the other platforms, like it's available on some, but not all. So like on the places where I found out, okay, I just can't use GoPaint because, like you said, it's just too common. I added TV. Like, okay, well that seems like what all the cool kids are doing these days. So I'll just add TV to my
But that's what the gamers do on their game tags. So when they see you in a game, they follow you on. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Is that
it's all networking.
My naivety is going to show, but is that like legit a thing in the
apparently?
world?
So I heard it for a while. There was like this little bit of drama, and again, we're gonna derail all night. So hold on tight, guys.
Strap in. We'll get to 3D printing tomorrow.
For a while in games like Fortnite and stuff like that, you'd randomly see like some name TV at the end of it, and you're like, oh, that's a streamer. And then it was getting dramatic. It's like, oh, you're trying to solicit yourself as a streamer on all these games. I'm like, and
damn straight I am.
And then other people like, oh, it's so snooty to put, or whatever word you wanted to put, TV at the end of your name, and it's just you're trying to draw attention. I'm like, streaming's a social community. You need to market it somehow. Let people, so whatever, add TV to the end of it, because it's obvious, right? You are clearly doing something. It's online content creation. It's TV for most people. So
my next gamer tag is going to be ImpendingDuff. I'm a streamer. That's it. Next gaming tag.
ImpendingDuff, follow for follow.
Yeah. God no.
Oh God, that's another rabbit hole. We're gonna jump right over that comment because
we'll ignore that
I have some passionate responses about that. Anyway.
Yeah.
So pretty basic, kind of, your name is what you're doing.
Name is what I'm doing a lot of times. Yep.
So are we gonna see a channel called Go Print one day?
I don't think so, but someone has suggested Go Food, because a lot of times when I'm ending stream, it's usually like dinner time or the wife is cranky hungry.
Right.
Signing off like I gotta go get food for the wife.
Yeah. Doesn't the wife come in the channel and you guys like plan out your meals while you're streaming sometimes? Like, what do you feel like for dinner?
Sometimes.
Just not Chinese again. Like,
Sometimes.
So, okay. The last question of kind of getting to know you, what keeps you kind of motivated? What do you love? I think we already heard a little bit of this, but if you can elaborate on what keeps you motivated to keep streaming, and what really makes you love being on Twitch, being on a stream.
Yeah, sure. I think it's twofold, right? I mean, part of it is it's doing something that would be otherwise pretty solitary, but doing it with friends and talking with people online while you're doing it, experiencing it as a community together. So that part of it keeps me coming back to Twitch to stream it and share that knowledge. I don't think I have the production, set up and the content and all that stuff for like a really polished YouTube channel. Like, I'm not going to go out right now and start doing massive video production, but hey, I can fire up a stream. I can paint, I can talk about what I'm doing, I can do 3D printing, and I can, design things on a computer, talk about that with folks. And usually it's that aspect of it that keeps me coming back. This community in particular on Twitch, the creative community, is really self-supportive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks here that, hey, someone new came in, let's check out what they're doing. Cool.
It polices itself very well.
Yeah, absolutely. One night I was streaming, I was doing something random. I can't remember if I was 3D or if I was doing painting. And this guy I didn't know anything about, Foxy by Proxy, drops in. And he throws bits at my channel. And I'm like, ooh, hi.
What just happened?
Thanks for the bits. What is this?
Someone's been watching ads.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. But it was just a strange thing to me. We got chatting, and then somehow through that, I ended up finding Duff and finding yourself. And it was just like a small community connection. But right, you find someone like that, and they end up connecting with other people.
Yep.
Even just by accident, you find other people.
It's cool how that happens on Twitch. I really love
absolutely.
it. I love that. It's
the hardest part about it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the hardest part sometimes is just there's so many of us now within this kind of like macro circle of creative people that it's like, right now I've got 20 people live, 25-ish, somewhere in that realm. And it's like, how do you spread yourself out to hang out
Yep.
with each one of those?
Yep.
It really kind of gets to be a bummer on, at least on me, that I can't get around and hang out with everyone. But everyone's still there to support each other, which is great.
Exactly. It is a challenge. It's like, okay, well, I've got 2-3 hours tonight to hang out and just relax. 10 people I want to watch are all on at the same time. What I end up doing a lot of times is I'll spend a lot of time going back and watching VODs in between, or checking out what people are working on, or just kind of staying updated on what people do. But it's hard. It is hard to be active in multiple channels at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you guys do it.
It's
lots of tabs.
It is super difficult, and it's sometimes there's a lot of guilt because you're like, man, I haven't stopped by this person's channel in forever. And then you go in there and you're so well received, and just they're like so happy to see you. And then you got all these other people in chat saying hi because they know you too, and you're like, I just wanted to come say hi and support this person without drawing attention to myself, and but that's the community though. Like if GoPaint, like, and this isn't trying to call you out, but you have not had the availability to come into my channel in a while. We have schedules that don't really allow for us to do that as often as I would at least like to come and say hi. But when you show up, I've seen you. Well, you haven't done this, but other people have come in and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I haven't been here." I'm like, "And like, there's no attendance. This is not like college where you have to be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, you come and go as you are available and as you want to, and that is it." And when people do that, everyone's like, "Hey, GoPaint, what's up?" And it's not like, "Oh, well, where have you been?" Like, it's everybody, and a lot of the channels are like that. Like, "Hey, man, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. How have you been? How's everything been going?" Like,
exactly.
Have you been good? Because I haven't seen you. Just want to make sure everything's all right because you might have something going. So that's what it's been like in this community, and it kind of makes me want to stay in this community forever instead of, getting into something bigger, or going to some other platforms. Like, I love it here because of this very reason.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have a 10 person active chat hanging out doing stuff together than I would 100 person silent chat.
Hell yeah.
Any day, every day. You just as long as Duff isn't talking and you give me, just
You mean trolling? 99.83% of the time I'm trolling Joe in his own channel.
Talking / trolling, they are one and the same when Duff speaks.
I'll own it. I'm proud of it. I only troll my friends.
So let's get to the subject at hand. First of all, before we really get into it on its Twitch approach, what is it that really appeals to you about 3D printing? I mean, I've got a printer. I know Duff has a printer that he's working on. It takes forever to do, like, the process. So what is it that you really enjoy about this?
To me, it's always been that tangible creative outlet. So, as a kid, I always played with erector sets, or I played with Lego. For those of you in the audience who don't know what a erector set was, because you may just have not had those when you were a kid, it's basically sheet metal with screws and bolts. And as a kid, it's all the stuff from a hardware store that you don't usually get. You give it to a kid, and they build stuff out of it. So that was my kind of hobby as a small kid. And then Legos and other things growing up, right? So when I got old enough to really start messing with computers and doing 3D design, this was probably back about, I don't know, decades ago. I won't really get into how long ago it was, but long enough ago that, a lot of kids that we watch stream playing games today weren't probably around. So, but that was a non-tangible form of art, right? I could create the 3D objects, I could render them, I could come up with some cool pictures on the computer screen. But then the next step of that, really, as the last probably 10 to 15 years have proven, is you can take those ideas now and you can create something that you can hold in your hands, which is like, all of a sudden you feel like Tony Stark. You're like, I have an idea. I'll just draw it up on the computer, and then a couple hours later it'll pop out on this machine over here, and then I can hold it in my hand and use it. So really, that's kind of been what's so exciting to me about it, is that, like, what you can think of and what you can design, as long as your machine that you're using can support it, you can print it out. You can make things that are useful, right?
Yep.
So like you might see those shows. There was a survival show, a family living out in like the middle of nowhere. They had 3D printers, and so like they were installing cabinets, but they couldn't find knobs. something simple like that. The guy was like, I'll just print some knobs, no problem. So he just printed up some knobs and put them in his house. I think that level of utility is really interesting to me.
Okay. Yeah.
But more than that, it's also been the creative outlet. So I'll just give you guys some examples. So last year I started playing a game called Kill Team, also from a company called Games Workshop. Yep, exactly.
Love these
And I
things.
bought the Kill Team manual, right? So I bought the book, and the book talks about these markers that you're supposed to have to show what your characters are doing on a tabletop. I didn't have the markers. I didn't buy the Kill Team box set, the $150 or whatever. I just had the book, the rules. I was like, well, I want to get some markers. At the time, they weren't really selling them separately, so I just designed a set for me. I just said I want a set of tokens, set of markers that I can use on the tabletop. So I designed some up. I printed them off on the printer, and then I took them to the game shop and I started playing the games with guys at the shop. My intention at the time wasn't anything at all about producing them and trying to like make a product out of them or whatever. It's just an idea.
Whoops.
So yeah, whoops. So that kind of that week, I had like all the guys that we play with down at the shop. They're like, "Oh, dude, I want tokens. Can you make these in different colors? What's your?" I'm like, I had no answers to all these questions. All I do is that it takes a hell of a long time to print these tokens, and all these people want them. I was like, okay. But that's kind of been exciting. It's like, okay, something I thought was useful to me, now other people also think it's useful.
Yeah.
Very much.
That's a pretty unique concept. It's just
And
that you don't have to outsource your manufacturing anymore. You can just kind of do it yourself.
when I was using these at Adepticon, I had quite a few people asking, "Where'd you get them? Did you make them?" That was the big question: was did you make them? I was like, no, kind of pouting, like, no, damn it. But I know the guy who made them, and I can get you some. So I gave out your info a few times at con. These things, they're a conversation starter in themselves. Just, I mean, not by no means a knock. They're simple tokens, but the coolest thing about these things is the case you created for them. Which, by the way, I field tested these by accident. I dropped them while loading up the car for Adepticon. I can't tell where I dropped them at all.
Nice.
There's maybe a little nick right there, but dude, they took a serious fall. They weren't just kind of ooh blip. They went flying down hard at the concrete, and even the lid didn't come off. The pieces didn't fly. They're just perfect, and they fit right in the backpack. Good to go.
Awesome.
I've gotten a few things printed from you. The coins I gave out at Adepticon, people loved them, so I'm still getting bugged about those. I've got some left over. So,
very cool.
What you create, what I've seen your hobby handles, obviously. I don't have any because of my sponsorship with Hobby Holder, but your handles are beautiful. A lot of people are loving your innovative way of designing the cork into them. The big long spiral ones, so your hand can breathe while you're holding them.
Mm-hmm.
Do some really interesting stuff, and I envy your creativity, frankly, because I do not have that brain. I can't think of something, put it digitally, and then pop it out on a printer. That's just not my style.
That's the piece of 3D printing that is most fascinating to me. It's like, okay, not only can we design things and make them reality, but you can design things that you might not otherwise be able to do with a normal tool. Like a table saw wouldn't produce. This is the thing you were talking about, right? A table saw would never be able to produce this, or a drill. I mean, whatever tools you might use, a lathe, those aren't going to be able to make this kind of an object. No. So being able to do things that are unique, but functional, that's kind of what I've been enjoying most about it. I think just real quick on, do you want to jump into how 3D printing works and why?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of that's the next question. So you enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and and you've got your camera set up so you can take us over to the printer. I think
I do. So for folks that are just listening in, I'll just try to do my best to describe what we're talking about. So a 3D printer is the best way to think about a 3D printer, if you didn't have a machine, is to imagine that you are the printer, right? And that you're holding, let's say, something like a hot glue gun, because that's basically what the technology is that most people are familiar with. It's a really hot object on one end with a not hot substance that flows into the other. And when it passes through, it melts. And as it melts, it gets deposited onto a surface somewhere. So if you were trying to, design something and make a shape out of hot glue, that's kind of the way to think about what a 3D printer is. So
It's a
you've
really
got
good analogy, actually.
you've got a hot glue gun pointed straight down at the ground because you're not going to squirt hot glue up into the air. We have gravity.
Yep.
So you've got a hot glue gun pointed straight down to the ground, and kind of what you see on the screen there for those watching and for those not, there's a roll of plastic on top of the printer. It could be beside the printer, it could be wherever you put it, doesn't really matter. But basically what that is that's the unmelted plastic that will eventually become an object. We call that filament. So this is a particular type of 3D printer. This is called an FDM printer, but basically it just means, it's a fancy way of saying it melts plastic and it puts it out the other end, right? And so while it's moving back and forth, so what a printer will do, it will melt the plastic and then it will move left, right, back and forth, up and down. Okay, that's basically all it is. And it's really a fairly simple mechanical device, but there's a lot of complex things that had to come together for it to really work the way it does now. So there's the plastic on the top. There's an overall frame that supports the 3D printer. So you can attach, the screws and the bars that go up and down. So you can attach the print bed that goes back and forth on the bottom. And then there's also the piece in the middle, which is kind of the hot glue gun part. That part gets hot, and that plastic comes down off the top of the printer. It goes through the heating mechanism, and then it comes out the bottom, melted plastic. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
Absolutely.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
another comment we received is that basically it eats plastic and poops it out. It's the other way. I saw that. We don't always read chat messages because it's very hard for someone watching this later to follow. But that's just something you can't overlook.
No.
It's not wrong.
Sometimes it smells that bad too.
It does.
So you've got all these parts kind of glued together or bolted together on something called a 3D printer. Right? So you've got the frame, you've got these poles that go up and down, you've got shafts that move up and down, you've got motors. So for every direction that the printer needs to move, you need to have at least one motor, right? So in this case, we have a motor that moves the hot end, the hot glue gun, back and forth, left and right. You've got a motor that moves the hot glue gun, quote unquote, up and down, right? So as the object gets taller or grows out of the build plate, it's got to go up. And then you've got the one that goes front to back. Now there's a motor on the very top of the hot glue gun that pulls the filament through pulls the plastic through the hot end on the 3D printer. So that's another motor that needs to be there, right? Imagine like if you were trying to print something with a hot glue gun and you kept running out of glue, you had to stick another stick in, pushing the glue down by hand. It's not really going to work out, right? You're not going to be able to do that very efficiently. So the printer needs some way to pull that filament into the hot end to make the object. So all this stuff comes together, right? You've got a frame, you've got the hotbed at the bottom. And what happens is that thing needs to be relatively straight and level. And then the pieces that move back and forth, left and right, up and down, all those things kind of need to be square and level also. If they're not, you'll get sort of issues with your printing. But basically what happens is once those things are all aligned and you've compensated for the shift in the frame if you bent your frame, or you compensated for the heat bed being slightly warped, maybe the front is taller than the back, things like that might happen. Then you put your 3D objects into the printer, and we could talk at length about that. That's a thing that we stream about. So we'll talk about how this kind of relates to streaming in a minute, I guess. Yep. Basically, once you get the 3D objects into the printer, you turn it on, you tell it to go, and it starts to print your object. Essentially what you do is you take an object in the computer, and this is kind of the part where the streaming comes into play, is you get something you design on the computer, right? Say it's these tokens. Okay, so I designed these on the computer. I take that file or that object and I convert it to what's called a stereolithography file. I actually had a stream chat community member fill me in on that. I didn't even know. But basically, usually STL file, right? So you create what's called an STL file, stereolithography. I didn't know that. Know it now. Now you guys know it too.
I knew what an STL was, but I did not know the acronym.
Yeah, exactly. But basically what that is the computer's way of taking all of your shapes. So the kind of the curves, the flat surfaces, the hole in the bottom, all these things, and it converts those into triangles. Okay, and it stores that in a file called an STL file. It's kind of just a way of drawing a picture in 3D, but turning it into shapes of triangles. Okay, more or less.
Kind of like a polygraphic image in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So then you run that same file through another program called a slicer. So a slicer is an interesting piece of technology. So
That
if
I'm
you think
struggling
about
to figure out.
if you think about, okay, I've got this cube. Let's just say I design a block. I've got this cube, and the printer has to somehow move back and forth until eventually it gets to the top of that cube and print it out. It's kind of like building up the layers in a stack of paper, right? As you lay down a piece of paper and then another one and then another one and another one, eventually you get to a ream of paper, but that takes time. So basically what the slicer will do is it will take your cube and it will slice it up into layers. Okay, it will take an instruction and say start at this point and then move the printer here and output that much plastic, and then move the printer here and output that much plastic, and then here and then here. So the slicer's job is basically taking the thing that you design, the shape, and converting that into a language that the 3D printer knows how to respond to. Right? So it's translating from STL into something called G code usually. So this is all very technical talk, but essentially what it's doing is it's just taking your 3D object, slicing it into layers so that you can tell the 3D printer how to build it in a real way. It's a little more involved in a sense that we talked about the plastic that comes out of the machine. Different kinds of plastics require different temperatures to melt, right? Some of them melt at a lower temperature, some of them melt at a higher temperature. Some of them need to be printed at a slower pace, some of them at a faster pace, right? So all that action is kind of controlled through the slicer. So it controls the speed, it controls the flow, it controls the movement of the printer head. It's a lot to coordinate, right? But once you get it all done and it's right, it's a fun thing to watch happen.
Yeah.
So would you
That's
say
something
this?
that.
Go ahead, Duff.
Go ahead. Nope, you go ahead.
So would you say that this hobby is for anyone to just pick up?
I think the technology's close. I don't think it's there for, say, like my kids to pick up a printer yet and to pop something out. I've seen advertisements for a kid-friendly 3D printer, but I don't think that we're quite there yet. I think there's still enough technical jargon and stuff going on that people will still need something else to support them. Like think about the App Store, right? People aren't going to go out and build their own apps. They're going to go out and download an app. Someone else has already built it. We're not quite there yet with 3D printers. We're getting close. Websites like Thingiverse or other places where you can get 3D models. You don't have to have 3D design skills to get something that you can print. But we're not quite there yet. I think once we get to the point where someone takes their printing platform and a website like Thingiverse and the App Store concept and says, okay, I want to download and buy, let's use miniatures as an example. I want to download and buy a piece of terrain so I can print it. And if it goes straight from that website, straight to the printer, then yeah, I would say we're at a point where pretty much anybody could use it. I think for now, if it's more complicated than, say, an iPhone, then it's probably not quite there yet.
Okay, that's fair.
I think I'm a shining example of that because I had talked to you, not at length, but you had given me some input, and I kind of got rose-colored glasses. I guess I went out and I bought like the worst printer possible, kind of like pulling up my pants, going, well, I don't give a damn if it's the worst printer ever. That'll make me learn better. It's a struggle. It's for someone like me who's not very technically sound, which is why my stream looks the way it does. It is a struggle because I don't really understand the technical aspect of it. I don't understand programming, which I kind of feel like you do need a slight degree of understanding how to program things in order to work in Slicer. Slicer is very confusing to me. People are telling me, well, you got to go in and change your bed temperature. You got to find this, you got to find that. I don't work that way. I work by seeing it done and doing it and having someone guide me to do it. I can't be told how to do it virtually via text or whatever. So I think you're 100% accurate in the fact that we're not there yet. But I'm sure you saw the Kickstarter for, what is it, Snap something or another. The 3D printer, it's like a 3D printer, a laser cutter, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. That one's pretty darn close. Pretty close, I think. So
I think there needs to be it's almost like locking yourself into an ecosystem, right? With Apple, they make everything so easy because Like if I have an Apple Watch and I have an Apple phone and I have an Apple laptop and I have an Apple TV and I have whatever, all that sort of ties together. And there's not a lot of things that the customer has to think about for all that to just work.
Yep.
With 3D printing, even within the same manufacturer, within the same brand of plastic, you can have differences between two rolls of plastic. And you need to kind of factor, you have to, if you really want to get good prints, you kind of have to think about, okay, how do I make sure when I start a print with this roll of plastic that it's going to come out as best as it possibly can?
Yeah.
Right. And you can't just assume that, okay, I've got another roll from the same manufacturer of the same filament of the same whatever, just pop it on and start printing, because it actually usually doesn't work that way.
No.
Almost always it doesn't work.
Especially depending on pressure sensitive areas of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course moisture is a big thing.
Yep.
You know, some people are throwing their filament in toaster ovens to bake off the moisture in the filament.
Right.
You know,
So the ambient temperature is a big one.
Yeah, it's a low temperature, but you know, they'll print something out and it'll look like that Pokemon's for escaping my name. He looks like a big glob of goo, Grimmer, I think. I don't know. But anyway, he looks like a big old glob of goo. And that's what their print comes out. They've checked their temperatures, they've leveled their bed a million times, they've done everything they could possibly do.
Yep.
And then somebody tells them bake off the filament, and all of a sudden they're getting beautiful prints.
Right.
It may not even be your house. It's just, you know, it shows up, you order it from Amazon, wherever you order it from, and where they were storing it was humid as hell. You don't know. So
yeah,
there's a ton of trial and error, and I think that's one of the things people don't really realize about 3D printing. A lot of people think you just push a button and poof, I've got half a machine gun or something.
Right.
Get ready to waste a lot of filament, especially if you're new to it.
So have you had a successful print yet, Duff?
No, I gave up about a month ago. I'm not throwing the towel in. It's just I had spent so much time on this printer that I was like, I've got commissions and stuff I got to work on, so I'm going to step away. I will not let it defeat me. I came close.
I started with two commercially readily available, but not necessarily pre-built kits, right? So they're commercially produced, they're engineered. They're not. These aren't open source kits, but they're built on technology that is generally open source. So I bought those machines. The first one I bought, and the later ones I use. If we can talk about which ones those are, but I bought those, spending a little bit more money on them, knowing that there were cheaper alternatives. But I didn't have time to mess with I want to figure out the engineering of it. I need to make sure that all the alignment is perfect myself. I need to make sure that, you know, all the components are perfectly well matched. Basically, I wanted to get something that had support because I was going to be using these to print things for people. Right.
Right.
I didn't have the will or the time to wait and say, okay, well, I'll just figure this out for another 2 months and then I'll start printing tokens for people. Anyway, so.
Sorry, I got entangled in chat. They're discussing the Pokemon now.
So streaming and 3D printing, like there's things that are, to me, that are unique about creative, depending on what you're doing. So like if you're in a wood shop, you're going to be streaming wood shop stuff, and you presumably have some kind of wood shop cameras, right? Like, okay, I've got a saw cam, I got a drill cam, I got a whatever cam. When I'm streaming and 3D printing, a lot of times I will do something like this, where I'll have a camera set up that's directed at one of the printers that I'm using during the stream, or two of the printers. I have both of them set up there. You can see off the side. And a lot of times what I'll have those doing is either just kind of watching something I already have printing, so we can kind of talk about it with chat and say, okay, this is kind of what's going on. This is where it's at in the process. I've done streams with 3D printing where, you know, I don't have a lot that I have to worry about with, it's not like miniature painting where I'm over there in front of the printer and I'm you know, painting a miniature and I'm showing them the palette and I'm showing them the colors I'm using and all that. The printer just does its thing, right? So if it's just a pure, let's watch something print stream, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on Twitch too. Yeah. But I mean, some people enjoy that process.
Yeah, so a lot of times I'll have a printer cam like that set up and off to the side of the overall window that we're working in. I'll just kind of have that there working on something throughout the stream. Just kind of gets people into the mindset of, okay, look, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours and all of a sudden there's an object sitting there that wasn't there before. And then we've done streams where what we'll do is we'll open up a 3D program. We'll open up Blender directly. And then we'll start drawing the shapes of whatever the objects are that we're going to print in Blender. And then we'll go through the whole process of let's export those objects. Let's bring them over into a slicer. Let's slice up the object and let's move it over to the printer. So I've done streams where I've gone end to end on both, where I've done the 3D design, the slicing, and the printing all in the same stream. It's usually just a matter of, letting people see the process and not printing something that's going to take 25 hours to finish, because nobody wants to sit and wait for that to happen.
Right.
Yep.
And that's actually one of the things I actually really enjoyed about your stream was that tiny window kind of down in the bottom corner while you're painting your miniatures. That appealed to both of my interests. I really am interested in 3D printing, but again, with my issues with technicalities and being terrible at them, I live vicariously through folks like you.
Like you mentioned, the kind of the challenges with 3D printing and stuff. The problem with it too is there's so many variables in a print and like why a print might be going wrong, that it's really hard for, like, I've asked people for help myself. Like, hey, this is kind of going wrong. What do you think might be happening? Just kind of, are there settings you think I should be tweaking? Like, are there whatever? It's really hard to know. Like, it could be the temperature in the room. So, Joe, I think one stream you were hanging out with us, and we were talking about like something I was designing on stream, right? So
I remember this. Yeah,
we were doing these things, right? And one of the challenges was, and I don't have that version. They're actually all sitting with Natasta Ninja right now. One of the challenges was Natasta Ninja and Joe kind of said, "Hey, why don't you put your logo on that?" I was like, "Well, that's a pretty good idea. I just haven't thought about it."
I remember that.
So we're sitting in a 3D program. We're designing these, and I probably got lost down a rabbit hole that night. And I'm sure it wasn't the most exciting stream. So the thing to kind of keep in mind is, it's like watching someone do Photoshop or watching someone do anything that's technical in software on a computer screen. You're moving stuff around. You're moving shapes around on a computer screen, and you're kind of talking about what you're doing. But it's really easy to kind of get into a rabbit hole of, oh, this isn't lining up correctly. And that night, I did like 2 hours trying to get this to work. I tried to get the logo on the bottom of this rack. It's just as an example of like what we do when we stream. So like that challenge that night was, hey, put your logo on your rack. Oh, that's cool. I'll try to do that. So we kind of did that and made that happen. This is an example of what I would call like a prototype, something that I designed that is to hold paint bottles, right? And then I guess this is one thing we didn't talk about earlier, but moving from this prototype to kind of the next version of the same thing, like things that you can do to improve. Like, okay, I don't like the way that the first one came out. I don't like kind of the shape of this brush holder on the top, or, oh, I should have put in holes for paintbrushes on the top. Why didn't I think of that the first time? These things take forever to print.
How long is that rack?
These the small ones I think take like 18 to 19 hours, and then
no big deal.
There's another version. Yeah, the other version of this one, exactly, no big deal. There's a 4-row version of this that I designed that takes I think like 24, 25 hours, and it's real stressful. It's really stressful leaving a print like that to run.
Because what if you didn't have enough filament? What if something snags along the way? And this isn't like, with those games where you can build something, and as you're waiting for your base to build over 24 hours, you can spend like rubies or whatever to shortcut it. Not you hit the button, you got to sit and wait.
Yeah, fast travel.
Hello, traveler. Would you like to skip ahead to day 35?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, with something like that that's running so long, when it messes up, it really hurts you. You're like 20 hours into a print, the top 1 centimeter of it didn't finish, but the whole thing is ruined because something happened in the middle of a print.
Yeah.
I've definitely lived those nightmares before. So it looks good on the surface. You guys see like the finished, good-looking product on the outside, but you don't really see is like
the heartbreak
pile
that
of
happened along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's probably a benefit of watching a 3D stream, a 3D printing stream is, should you be there when something goes astray, then you get to see the reaction, which, I mean, we're not all there to see somebody pulling their hair out, but more or less, I mean, you get to see the reactionary process. Okay, this got screwed up. Let's sit down, figure it out in Slicer, and
troubleshooting it. Yep.
Yeah. And that's hugely valuable to someone like me who has no freaking clue what they're doing.
So just to kind of sum up, when it comes to 3D printing and streaming, you said a couple of things, like it's a very lengthy process. There's things that
Mhm.
are just happening. I mean, I would say it might go back to similar to watching paint dry, on steroids, substantially longer, substantially slower.
Mhm.
Um, and it's kind of up to you to provide some sort of it. That's where we're going. That gets back to what we were talking about earlier with the educational aspect, the engaging aspect, being able to talk to your viewers. Because if we're just gonna sit here and talk while those two printers are going back there, time will fly
Yeah.
by, and we'll keep people engaged. But
Yep.
I guess when it comes to 3D printing, you said some of the best things for it are not just throwing it up on camera and saying everybody watch this print,
Exactly.
because it's but when it comes to your setup with 3D printing and Twitch together,
Mhm.
like you just switched over to a camera. Did you buy extra equipment specifically so you can provide the content of the 3D printer?
I did. So when we started out, I really started out with just one webcam. I didn't have a face cam. It was just a camera down at the desk, looking at what I was, doing on the desk. I didn't have any way to do kind of multiple video feeds into the stream at one time. And just over time, like as I confirmed that I enjoy doing what we do,
Oh,
right?
sure.
I enjoy the streaming process. People seem to like what I'm doing. People seem to like hanging out and talking. Once you get kind of past that first that barrier, that hurdle, it's like, okay, yeah, this is something I want to do. Let's add another piece of equipment that might make this possible or more interesting. And that thing happened to be an extra camera, right? So
Hmm.
over here off to the side where you guys can't really see it, there's a tripod with a camera pointed at the printer. And it's just something that is not hard technically to do, but you just sort of need to
Sure.
set it all up.
Yeah.
So
And
The
we've
work in OBS, it's
yeah.
it's minimal. I mean, but it is time consuming. People don't
mhm.
realize that
Sure.
streamers do spend a lot of time behind the scenes after streams,
Oh
whatnot,
yeah, for sure.
and it takes a lot, especially in creative. Soulbound Leather, one of our guests on a earlier episode, she has like
Phenomenal.
5, 6 different cameras,
Hmm.
microphones that move around with her. That's I think that's something unique that a lot of video game streamers, nothing against them, but I think they kind of take it for granted.
Right.
They need one camera, so they do a ton of work trying to mash up their streams for their
Yeah.
craft. But in streaming or in creative, there's so much more, and constantly, like we were
Mhm.
talking before the show, constantly working on your overlays and different processes to switch back and forth from
Yeah.
cameras. And I think that just goes to show how passionate we are in the creative world. And I think that's why people are so passionate as a viewer base about hanging out with us. So
I mean,
it's really cool.
just as an example, something as simple as a podcast setup, right? We're not printing, we're not designing in 3D, we're not running all this extra equipment. You guys watch us for an hour a week. Um, I alone, because I can't really speak for Duff, I alone put 3 to 4 hours offline into this podcast just to
Just the
maintain,
podcast.
just to the podcast. And
Yeah.
this is
Mhm.
the easy part, right? I edit,
Yeah.
I have to, and Duff puts in several hours since we've started, working with different uh, guests and stuff like that too. So
Scouting.
yeah,
Scouting's my big thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as we're getting closer to the end of the hour here, I guess one of the things that I wanted to get into, that extra webcam setup. I mean, there's nothing else. Did you get any extra lighting rigs or?
Um, I started simple. Like when I
Yeah,
first started, it really just kind of relied on the ceiling light in the room. I just basically installed a more daylight friendly light bulb. Like at nighttime, because I tend to stream when the kids are in bed, right?
sure.
So it's dark out right now. Like there's no light coming through the window. Um, so what I really did was I just got two lamps, two cheapo $10 lamps, and put in daylight bulbs. And I used one of those on the desk and kind of angled a little bit towards my face into the desk, and then kind of had one shooting across the room towards the printers, and
Okay.
then just had a camera on it. Yeah.
They the
Um,
IKEA lights.
no, they were $10 or $15 Lowe's,
Oh, okay.
cheap. They broke. They don't have them
Yeah.
anymore. But
The $10. I don't know what Swedish weird name it is because I can't speak Swedish, but the $10 IKEA lights. That's basically
yep.
what I started with. Not for lighting, but actually I modified them for mounts for my cameras.
Right. I remember
So,
talking about that. Yeah.
they're great.
Very similar to that. It's just it wasn't a boom arm. It was just a stand light
Yep.
that had a base and a cone. So It doesn't really, except for the printer itself, the power source for the printer. I've had streams where both printers kicked on, the heating element at the same time, air conditioning kicked on, cooled the bed simultaneously, the heating element kicked on, tripped a breaker and shut down the stream. Right? I've had that happen where it's like, oh, so now I tend to
good night.
run. Yeah. See you guys. I'll tend to run things on separate power strips now, or on separate outlets, or on separate breakers, just to keep that from really becoming a problem.
Sure.
But those are kind of things you learn over time. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it happens, it's usually a pain.
That's
Or I'll
something
start
I
the
never
prints
thought
and
about.
what's that?
That's something I never thought about, tripping a breaker, because I've got
Yeah.
4 studio lights, all the different crap hooked up to the power, and it's like, thank God these are like low output studio
Yeah.
lights. My umbrellas and my soft boxes, they're super low output, so I'm gonna knock on wood right now.
That's the funny thing, is that 3D printers, you hear me say that, and it's not because 3D printers use a lot. Like, they're not that energy hungry. It sounds like
Right.
they would be. They're just not.
They're
It's just
very
that we have
basic
overly
computers.
Yeah, we have overly sensitive arc fault switches in these houses nowadays, and so
Yeah.
it just tends to trip a breaker every once in a while for whatever reason. So anyway,
Well, it sounds like you went down the right path of getting into it. I mean, I've seen a lot of new ambitious streamers, not just creative, but just a streamer in general, are like they're gonna want to go get this massive rig. They're gonna go get all this high expensive camera stuff. They're gonna go get full professionally. It's like just take it easy. Like, you have a light in your room already, so that's a good start. You've got a headset that you play with your buddies on. That's another good start. You've got a cheap webcam. I mean,
still have the one I started with.
yeah, and then slowly work your way up. I mean, I guarantee you didn't just go, I'm gonna try 3D printing. Let me go buy these really 2 nice printers that are over my shoulder. Like,
no.
And I think that's a really good message for everybody. I mean, just about every streamer we see come in here has got a similar approach. I got here over time,
Yep.
It's different if you were like your own business doing this on the side already, and you're like, you know what, now I'm going to take this to another level. I've already got everything. Let's just not make it live. That's a different approach. I've seen somebody who, I'd love to get on here one day, who runs a computer repair business and paints computer cases, just custom computers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was doing this all already, and then he's, you know what, I feel like hitting a live button. So now his whole office just has wireless webcams everywhere. It's almost like you're watching security camera.
It's a really cool setup too.
Nutasta Ninja, God forbid you have a printer that doesn't pause. Yeah, no doubt. That's definitely come up in the past.
I don't.
So I'll just describe the issue real quick since we're talking about it. Basically, when that power cuts out, so if the breaker trips and the power comes back on, if you don't have a printer that has a feature where if it loses power and can resume the print once the power comes back on, it's the same issue with anything else that goes wrong in a print. Basically, you lose the entire job, right? So if the power goes out at 20 hours and it's a 30-hour print, you just lost 20 hours, right? So if that's a concern for you and where you're at, on top of saving money right away, like, don't buy the most expensive printers you can buy, but look for ones that have the features that you think are important. Basically, that pausing the print or recovering a print is an important one to me. So
yep, I'm definitely going to pick your brain in the future for a long-term kind of save up process for a resin printer.
That's what I was going to ask. If I know we're getting close to the end of cast here, but I feel it's kind of important, especially since Joe and I are miniature painters, and there's probably a bunch of miniature painters tuning in. We're all 3 of us miniature painters. Can you briefly explain to us the major differences between resin and filament based printers, and why somebody would choose one or the other, and if it's a good idea to start with the resin versus filament? But you get what I'm trying to ask.
I do. I think when you're learning, if you're learning about the hobby in order to learn the process of becoming a 3D printer or a person who can 3D print things, right? I don't think you should jump straight into resin, to be honest. I think you should probably start with a plastic filament-based extruding printer that basically just normal 3D printing process. They're going to be a lot cheaper. You can get really good quality prints for a couple $100 out of a printer. Don't jump straight to the $500 or the $2,000 liquid resin printer because you think I'm going to get so much more detail. I mean, it just doesn't. If you think, okay, can I print something on a printer that is relatively inexpensive, that can can be painted. Like we've done stuff like this on stream before, where we've taken a larger bust, for example, a 54 millimeter bust I'm showing here on camera for those of you watching live. But basically, this is something that is relatively detailed. I was surprised at how detailed it could be. Like I thought, okay, I need to have a liquid resin printer to do this, but let's just try it just to see what happens. The reality is, play around with the technology in a less expensive way. And then once you know how to use the tools and you understand the process, then move your way up into the resin printers. The main difference between when we say resin printer, what we're talking about is a printer that you would use to print, say, these paint racks. You would never be able to do this or probably want to do this on a resin printer. It just won't happen, right?
Yeah.
Both the size of the prints are limited, but also then it's just a waste of the technology. Like this could be done on a $200 printer. Don't do it on a $2,000 printer.
Yeah.
Just save your money. The resin prints don't start as hardened plastic. They start as liquid resin. And that's one of the main differences, is that the material that goes into the print is either solid and it melts, or it's liquid and it hardens into a shape. Okay, and so both printers go through the same process. They both have to be sliced up into layers. They both have to print one layer at a time. It's just that the resin printers with liquid tend to have a much higher resolution, meaning they can print much more kind of surface detail without the lines showing up, which I know bothers some people.
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
So like if you're a creature caster, right? If you're doing a creature caster model of some kind, and you're designing the arms and you're designing the bust and the head and the whatever, all these things, creature caster will do this all on the computer, and then they'll 3D print these things on a really high end industrial 3D printer, and then they'll clean them up and they'll start casting and molding them.
Yep.
That's something you can do in a real world application with resin that you probably wouldn't really want to do with a filament based printer. Like you're going to get good prints, but you're probably not going to be happy with everything about the print. There's just some sacrifice that you got to make there.
Yeah. It's a really good breakdown, and something that kind of deterred me from getting a resin. There was a decent starter resin printer that I was really considering, and it was on sale for like $500, and I kind of backed away from it because I was told resin, if you leave it in the reservoir and you don't print something for an extended amount of time, that resin might actually end up curing in the reservoir itself, and then basically your printer is basically ruined, or the process is a pain in the ass to really clean it up. So for someone like me, who I haven't touched my printer in 3 weeks, that's not something I want to clean up and mess with and dump out and dump back into a container. And
Liquid,
again, so.
the liquid resins tend to be light sensitive, right? So the way they cure the shape is it kind of grows out of a pool of water, like liquid, which is cool. Like the concept of a Terminator, right? Coming up out of a pool of stuff. It's kind of upside down, but you get the point. Like the object grows upwards out of a pool, which is cool. Those things have some kind of a photo cell in the base of the printer. And that light that's shining through the photocell is what kind of draws each layer, and so that's kind of what gives them the resolution that they can have. So it's not limited to the motors. It's not limited to the resolution of the motors.
Yep.
So anyway,
well, it's a lot to digest. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll probably want to dig deeper into this in a later spotlight. But in the meantime, Justin, thanks for all the information. Why don't you let everybody know who's listening to the audio cast where they can find you? Why don't you plug your socials? Let us know how to find you.
Yeah, sure. On Instagram at GoPaint TV. On Twitter, it's the same. Facebook, it's the same. On Twitch, it's actually without the TV. So I went counterculture on Twitch. I'm just GoPaint, no TV there. Yeah, that's the mains. And then if you're into 3D object design, I've started publishing some 3D objects out to a website called Thingiverse. So on Thingiverse, I'm also just GoPaint. So if you go to thingiverse.com and look for GoPaint or Scale 75 Paint Rack, something like that, you'll find me. You'll pop up there and find me there.
And we'll get that link and make sure that we put it on all of the description. So if you're listening to this after the recording and you're on YouTube or iTunes, wherever you're listening to this, check the description that was provided, and it should include all of the socials as well as the Thingiverse link. So if you want to print some of the stuff that Justin's designed, it'll be there. So
very cool.
Thanks, Justin, do you still have a Big Cartel store where people can get your tokens and whatnot?
I have an Etsy shop. So we were on Big Cartel as a trial, and then we moved over to Etsy because it tends to be more friendly for the consumer. So we're at a shop called nitasticninja.etsy.com. I'll just spell that for you guys. KNITASTICNINGA. Nitastic Ninja. That's a whole nother podcast about why that name is what it is.
I remember asking you that when I got mine and I got the sticker. I'm like, what's this?
Yeah, what's this ninja thing?
Yeah.
Nitasticninja.etsy.com.
And,
For
and
those
we'll
of
make
you,
sure to put that link out there as well.
yeah, for those of you watching, I showed them off earlier, but those of you listening, there you can get gorgeous kill team tokens, amongst other things, for the hobby, and goodies abound direct from Justin. So check it out.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And Duff, why don't you let everybody else know what you've got going on, where we can find you?
Sure. So it's pretty easy. It's either straight up ImpendingDuff, one word, or ImpendingDuff 40K. On Twitch, it's ImpendingDuff, obviously. Instagram is ImpendingDuff 40K, as well as Twitter, I think. I never remember which ones it is, but basically just search ImpendingDuff. You can find me on pretty much all the platforms, and I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've also got a few appearances coming up over the next couple of months. I'll be teaching at Gen Con. I'll be painting at the I don't know, the professional table, whatever Lynn's calling it. But teaching, painting, doing all kinds of things there. So if you see me, say hi. And I love to talk painting and whatnot. I'll also be at Warfare Weekend in November in St. Louis, and I will be teaching classes at Michigan Grand Tournament in October as well. So that's where I'll be. Justin, we forgot to ask, are you going to be appearing at any conventions or anything like that? You have anything you're going to?
I've got tickets to ReaperCon this year. I haven't decided about Gen Con. Actually, Gen Con 3 years ago is where I found out about Twitch originally. So I'm like,
Nice.
I'm not hip. Someone said I was hip the other day. I was like, I'm hip? What? I'm not hip.
Hip to be square. Was that 2017 or 16?
16 or 17. It was 50. It was their 50th anniversary of Gen Con, right?
We crossed paths before we even knew each other. That was my first Gen Con. All right, Joe, tell us all about you. Where can we find you?
So you can find me on all the social medias. Let's see, it's GamerDad on my YouTube and Patreon. You can get me at I think it's gamerdadnc is my Twitter with no underscores, and then Instagram and Twitch are gamer_dad_nc. And for those of you watching the video feedback, if you've seen the lower third with all of our names, they're scrolling across the bottom. For those of you watching me live, you're on my Twitch right now. So not much going on. I'm not going to many conventions this year. Might be trying to go to GalaxyCon at the end of July, possibly. But I will be hosting some Kickstarter launches this year. One of which coming up this coming weekend. So if you're watching the podcast after the fact and it's already been released, we've already had our event. But June 8th, that Sunday night, we will be helping another group with kind of I think I'm day one of their Kickstarter launch. So I've got the first stream, and a whole bunch of us are going to be in a calendar. So that'll be out on social medias soon. So your chance to win some cool printed dungeon tiles.
That's actually relevant to the topic. That's Tomb Guardians. I'll also be doing a promo stream for that Kickstarter on the 13th. Like Joe mentioned, we'll be painting up, but it's a week-long thing of a bunch of different streamers. We're all painting 3D printed dungeon tiles, which is very relevant to the topic. So if you guys want to come and check
these are
that
some out. Like from what I've seen in the pictures, I don't have any physically in hand yet. They're high quality prints. They're high detailed. So not something that a new printer would be trying to get into. This is something that's taken some time to refine and figure out. So yeah.
Are you guys going to Adepticon this year? Next year?
I'll be 100%. I'll be there every year.
I have been demanded of, but I am not certain if I'm going yet.
I'll go to his house. I'll fly down to his house. I'll kidnap him, throw him in the damn van, and get him there.
Joe!
I'm not taking no for an answer this year.
I'm now picturing What, the graduate, like at the church scene, pounding on the glass.
I was thinking more like old school, where they're driving
Old
around
school,
in the
yeah.
van and they just throw everybody in. It's like, I'm sorry, I'll have him back before dinner. Hypermom's like,
No,
I'm
no.
sorry. We'll have him back
See
before
Joe
dinner.
driving
Yeah.
away in a van and Duff running along the side like a gazelle. He's like a gazelle.
All right, guys. So thanks everybody for joining in tonight. If you have any interest in joining the podcast, if you've got some creative content you'd like to have promoted, or you know somebody that can join us, send myself or Duff an email. You can reach me at gamerdadnc@gmail. That's all one word. Or ImpendingDuff40k@gmail. Grab us on our social medias. Use that hashtag. So hashtag Twitch Creative Spotlight. Again, all one word. And we are trying to get ourselves all over the internet. So we are out on YouTube, obviously on Twitch, iTunes. We upload our audio through Spreaker, and that gets distributed out to things like Spotify. So find us everywhere. We publish on Tuesdays after the recording, and we record live on Wednesday. So
Yep.
why don't you tell us who we got next week, Duff? You've lined this one up. You're pretty excited, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna out metal Gamer Dad yet again. I love when I can out metal him. Well, it's not that hard.
You live that life every day.
It is. It is. So our guest next week will be straight from the Norwegian greatness. Death Metal Kyle is joining us. He's a music producer here on Twitch. Obviously, he just deals in nothing but country and folk with a name like Death Metal Kyle.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to talking with him. He does some really cool stuff. So he'll be with us next week.
All right, guys, so that's going to do it. We'll catch you guys next week. Please feel free to leave us any comments, thoughts about everything. Justin, thank you so much. This is very, very enlightening. I enjoyed learning a lot about the printing process.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
no problem, guys. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
All right, we will catch you guys all next week.
See you again.
All right, see you guys.
And scene.
Da ba da, da ba dee